Don Mazzella here again for Small Business Digest. You know, many in this audience have their own companies. Many are thinking about it, but no matter what, they both both those who have done it and those who want to do it should know how hard it is. Well, we have with us today someone who's going to tell us about his experience in a very competitive market. Victor, but you know what I didn't do is a Atole. Did I pronounce it correctly?
No, it's actually Alofe, Alofe.
Lofe, Alofe. Okay,
Correct.
let me start over again. And we have with this Victor Alofe, who's going to tell us. When I heard his story, we had to have him on the program. Victor, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Don. Happy to be here.
Well, as we always ask our guests, first, Victor, tell us a little bit about your background, then about your company, which I find fascinating, and finally, where people can learn more.
Look,
Okay.
great. Yeah. So a little bit about me. My name is Victor Alofe. Traditionally, I was a management consultant. That's where I started my career. So I was born in Nigeria, raised in Jersey, New Jersey. Went to school in Pennsylvania, at Penn State University. Afterwards, I worked as a management consultant in three different industries. It was the tax industry, insurance, and then media entertainment. So traditionally, I am a management consultant. I moved all over the East Coast, just with various different jobs, handling a whole bunch of different roles. So I've worked for some of the biggest names in media that you probably have heard of, the ABC News of the world, NBC Universal, things of that nature. Took a leap and really just ventured onto my own endeavors with Crew Collective LLC, which is a property management and design company that specializes in short-term rentals for traveling professionals and for explorers. So that's traditionally a little bit about me and what I currently do right now.
Okay. Well, you have a website?
I do. So our website is crewcollectivellc.com. That's crew, CREWCOLLECTIVE LLC.com.
Well, if I heard you correctly, you say these are temporary offices for consultants and other people. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, for traveling professionals. So we actually operate, there are four main areas of our business. The number one area is really crash pads. So crash pads are specifically short-term accommodations for traveling professionals, those who are either flight attendants or pilots or traveling consultants, freelancers, those who primarily travel for work. So with the crash pad, what that is, it's specifically geared for those who travel for work. It makes the most sense because a lot of times when you're all over the world for your profession, it doesn't make sense for you to have a long-term lease, and it doesn't make sense for you to buy a house. It also does not make sense for you to live out of hotels for um, a handful of nights throughout the year. It financially just does not make sense. So with the crash pad, it is really a short-term accommodation, where it's geared towards the busy lives of these traveling professionals. So it's a communal living space where people either have their own bedrooms or they have shared rooms, whatever they're willing to, pay for. And the crash pad is really geared for them to fit into their lives, fit into their busy schedules, and it provides them accommodation that otherwise is not really obtainable, whether through a long-term lease or, checking into hotels night after night.
Well, I'm just going to. I have a lot of questions. But the first one is there enough? Is that enough of uh, people out there in that to make this a viable industry? Obviously, you're successful at it, but
Yeah, yeah, there actually is. There actually are a decent amount of people who are looking for these type of accommodations. And as I mentioned, that's actually just one of four components of the business. Another component of the business is really just our short-term rentals. So our Airbnbs, Verbo, Booking.com. We have handful of properties that Crew Collective manages, where we accommodate travelers from all around the world. So we're able to really just create comfortable spaces that feel like home and that have really are conveniently located to a lot of the places that our travelers and our guests would like to visit. So that's the second component of Crew Collective. The third is property management. So we manage a handful of properties, whether it is long-term properties that are owned by, landlords, owners who have tenants. A lot of these owners are out of state, so we manage their properties. Others are those who have short-term rentals or Airbnbs. They're too busy to really just have an efficient process and kind of just have that flow as smoothly as possible. So that's where we come in and we really just take management of that whole thing. And because based off our experience, we know exactly how to create the best customer service and the best experience for our guests. So we kind of just bring a little bit that's something that we bring that traditionally a lot of our short-term rental hosts do not know or they don't really offer. So we were able to really just improve their business operations, which leads to really more money in their pocket. And the fourth area in which Crew Collective operates in is really our design and staging department. So we're brought in a lot of times by landlords, people who are willing to sell their house, people who want to put their house on an Airbnb or something of that nature, or those who just want to redecorate. So we have our specific staging and design services where we come in, we look at a space, we understand the budget and the needs of our clients, and we also understand what their design style is. Are they looking for a mid-century modern, industrial style, farmhouse, boho chic? What type of decor they're interested in. And from there, we develop a game plan, we develop a roadmap, project plan, timeline, and budgets, and we stick directly to that. And we're able to completely transform a space anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks with our clients.
Well, let's start with a question. How did you get into this industry?
Well, I've always been into this. This has actually been something that I've always cared about. I've always cared about providing great customer service to people who I work with. That's been my number one thing. One thing I've realized is like if you're actually doing right by people, providing them and giving them a great service, they will want to work with you in the future and they will want to refer their friends and those that their loved ones to work with you. And also, I've never really been too focused on the money. I've really been focused on actually doing right by people, and for me this is all fun. So I don't really feel like I'm working. I don't really feel like this is a job or anything like that. I think that this is really just probably the most fun I've had in a long time. So I've always been into real estate. I've always been into design, into decor, customer service, and also travel. So I know what it's like to go all over the place and look for accommodations that unfortunately don't fit your needs. So with that in mind, Crew Collective was really just born as a brainchild of that, of my experiences, of the things that I cared for, and of the needs that I understand that there are some people within the greater New York area who kind of have these specific needs, whether it's for property management, design, decor, and even traveling professionals who are looking for housing that specifically accommodates their life and their needs.
Well, well, I guess the next question is how how do you expand? Word of mouth? Well, how do you find your next customer?
Well, we find a lot of our customers through word of mouth. Like I mentioned, it's always about doing right by people. It's always about doing a great job. And when you do that, people have no problem just kind of sharing the good experiences that they've had with you and your business. Next thing you know, we have a lot of people who reach out to us, whether it is for, hey, I want to get into the Airbnb business and I really would love your help. I don't really know how to start. That's something that we've helped them out with. We also have a lot of projects where we manage a lot of renovations. So one of the things that we are experienced in is really just the whole project management of renovation, making sure that everything stays on time, stays on budget. So we have another project where we're helping a client through that whole renovation. And we also have a staging project that we're currently working on where we're helping somebody with their they have a duplex home and they would like both duplexes stage because they would like to put this on an Airbnb or a Verbo. So word of mouth is primarily how we get around, but also our social media is one of the things that has really grown and really blown up in the last couple months. So we have a pretty robust social media. We're active on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok as well, um, and LinkedIn. So people see a lot of our reels, people see a lot of our transformations, the things that we've done, and it sparks interest and it sparks engagement. So they follow us through social media and they'll even reach out to us saying, "Hey, this seems really cool. I would love for something like this to happen with my home. Can I learn more information?" And from there, we really just, we were really able to just expand and spread.
Uh, it sounds like a fun area. But let me ask you this: how do you identify help? The biggest question today seems to be how do you identify and keep good help? How do you do it?
It's very hard. To be honest with you, it's very hard. And one thing that I realized for me is identifying good help and good people who actually want to contribute and help here in our what we do is I have to find somebody who is truly passionate about what it is that we do. This isn't the way I view this is like this isn't just a job. This isn't just like a traditional 9 to 5. I actually want people on our team who are super passionate about what it is that we do, because what we do is we transform spaces. We really curate comfortable, relaxing, inviting spaces for people. You actually have to have a drive and you actually have to want to help your customers for that. We're not really in it for, the money of it. Like I've mentioned, like it really all is about transforming your place and making sure that someone is happy. So it's hard to identify good help and find people, but when we meet people who we feel are passionate, who we feel like actually want to positively contribute and leave their mark, and really just help change the lives of our customers and our clients. That's how we know that they could be a great fit for Crew Collective.
Well, they say I had someone else in the program who said that if he needs people who can take care of a customer, I prefer a woman because they seem to be more simpatico to it. What do you say to that question? To that answer?
Uh, I can see that. I can definitely see that. But also I have met men who really seem to care about what it is that we do, especially because it is a lot of what we do dives into the whole construction aspect of things, where a lot of men are very much just like I want to get my hands on it and I want to be able to leave an impact and also do right and create a nice inviting space for people. So I can understand how someone would say that, if you're looking for something like that, women are best. But I wouldn't say leave the men out of that one.
Mm. Well, if you talk about construction, the biggest thing in construction right now is the lack of good workers. Um, So if you're between a rock and a hard place, and both of those. But let's jump in a different way for a moment. You're the child of immigrants, who obviously made a leap. But how did they do it, and what did we learn from them?
So my parents were very, very education based. So their whole thing was really just like get your education, get a traditional 9 to 5 job, do what you can to really make something of yourself. And I did that. I received my bachelor's from Penn State University in security risk analysis. Also received my master's from Boston University in applied business analytics. So I think that that education checkbox has been, marked. And I've really just used everything that I've learned within my educational background, my educational experience to apply it into my professional life. So I don't really think that if it wasn't for my specifically my master's degree and really learning how to optimize businesses and learn what I've learned in school, I don't think I would even be here with Crew Collective. I don't think that it would even be half as successful as it's been if it wasn't for kind of the education and those principles that my parents instilled in me.
Hmm. Well, how did you come up with the name Cruise Select?
Crew Collective.
Collective.
uh, So that's a very unique name. So I think that it initially started because we first one of the first service offerings that we had was providing housing to flight attendants and to pilots, and obviously they're a part of a crew. So I think that as time went on, that name initially stuck, but then it became much bigger than just like the flight industry. It became bigger than just like the airline industry.
Hmm.
I think that when we did market research on the name it really identified, a greater team, people coming together to work as one, people working towards one sole mission, really. And for us, it's working with our clients on a mission to improve their space and to really make it as inviting and as welcoming as possible. And for our a lot of our landlord clients, it's really just to make their space and to make their apartments you know as sought after as the next guy, for example. And for a lot of like our Airbnb services, it's really about like bringing everybody together and making sure that they have like a comfortable space where they can actually like live and want to explore and feel comfortable there. So I think that the name Crew Collective just kind of encompassed a lot of the things that we were tackling at that time. But like I said, it started off really with focusing on those airline employees.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Well, you come up with a house. Now, let's say it has three or four bedrooms, so three or four people together. Is it co-ed or do you try to keep it male and male, male and female?
A lot of times it is co-ed because the way that the industry works is that a lot of things are co-ed. You have co-ed pilots, you have co-ed flight attendants, and the thing is, based off of, I think the notion is that people think that with these spaces, it's always packed or it's always filled with the traveling professionals, and that's not really the case. Based off of how dynamic their schedules are, they are all over the world at any given moment. So a lot of times they will be in a space, in a shared space, but they'll be the only person there. And they'll be the only person there for quite some time. So it'll feel as though, they have roommates, if you will, but their roommates are never home. So they have the space and they have the time to really just like have their privacy, have their peace of quiet, do what they need to do, shopping, grocery shopping, laundry, get ready for their next trips, their next flights. They can also walk to like local shops, they can just go into New York City for a day out in the city. It's not really like you're in a place that's like bunched up with a ton of people. So it really feels as though you are on your own. If anything, you have one or two more roommates.
Hmm. I find this fascinating. I love my job because I get to meet people like yourself. But uh, uh, where do you see the future of your company going?
I see the future of my company. Right now, I think it's definitely going to expand to different markets. I think I've seen a lot of demand for that. Um, I'm shooting for probably late 2025 or early 26, but we've had a lot of demand from people in the Philly area, also people in like the Boston area where they see the services that I offer, they see what my business kind of has, especially with the traveling professionals, and they're saying, "Hey, do you service, Logan Airport up in Boston? Do you service the Philadelphia International Airport? Hey, do you go as down as to Georgia, Atlanta?" And unfortunately, we don't. Right now, we're only focused in like the greater New Jersey, New York area. We go as far as Brooklyn, Manhattan, all North Jersey counties of Bergen County, Hudson County, Union County, Essex. So I think that we're going to expand our foothold into different states into different areas, starting in the East Coast. But in theory, I'd like to expand really throughout the country. And that all really depends on getting great help. People who are located in these areas that I feel like can actually do the work and really be the point of contact to kind of just run the operations in these areas. Because if we don't have that, unfortunately, we can't really expand. So it's all about looking for good help, who can really just drive the mission and the point of what Crew Collective is trying to accomplish in those areas.
I do you start around an airport, or how do let's talk about Philly, for instance, or Boston. Do you surround yourself around the Logan Airport, or I, what's your tentative plan for expanding around an airport?
So it's not even really about expanding around an airport. It's primarily around the transportation to the airport. How quickly can you get to the airport, really? So we'd like to focus around places that are around train stations, subways, anything that makes easy accessibility and easy travel to and from the airport. Specifically because what we focus on is traveling professionals. A lot of times they don't really have cars that they're driving to and from the airport or coming back to wherever they're stationed or their base. So public transportation is a big one. So public transportation is one of the ones where we really try to focus on how quickly you can get to and from the places that you need to go. Number one being the airport, number two being grocery store, local cafes, places that one would want to frequent, entertainment, dry cleaners, things like that. Things where it'll make kind of just your to-do list on your days off be checked off a lot quicker than it would if you were further away. So that's traditionally where we focus on how quick can you get to the airport. It doesn't necessarily have to be right outside of it or close to it, but the accessibility needs to make sense.
Before we go further, your website again for people who want to learn more.
Sure. Our website is crewcollectivellc.com. That is CREWCOLLECTIVE.com.
Oh, the big question is, how did you finance your start, and how are you doing your financing now?
Well, so a lot of it is really through a small business loan. So a small business loan really like helped us get jumped to start our whole thing, help us start this whole thing. But also, to be honest, a lot of it was really just owner investment. So I was able to, save a good amount of capital to really just start this whole thing. And because of that capital, it's really been able to put me in a good position to hit the ground running, but I also knew exactly how I wanted to grow the business and where I wanted to spend money and where I probably wanted to save money. So, along with those two things, the small business loan, along with the capital that I had myself, I was able to really position myself and put myself in a good position, in a good place to really hit the ground running and to grow and expand.
That's good to hear. If you had two things you would tell someone today um, that you should have done, what would they be?
Well, the number one thing is I don't think this is actually something I did do, and I would 100% double down on it moving in the future. I worked with Northwest registered agents to really set up my whole business. Everything about it when it came to the websites, the phone numbers, the LLC itself, obtaining an FEIN number from the IRS. They put me in a great position to really succeed initially by making sure that all my T's were crossed and my I's were dotted. So Northwest registered agents were fantastic when it came for me to actually stand up my business and to make it a legal entity. So I 100% wish that, at least I did work with them. And that's one thing I would absolutely recommend to somebody. The second thing I'd recommend is to make sure that if you are going to do an endeavor like this or launch something like this or do anything business related, definitely do it on your business credit. I think one thing I've learned from a lot of people and just stories that I've heard is people do put a lot of this stuff into their personal credit, their personal name, personal credit cards, and that's not the way to do it. That's definitely not the way to go. There's business credit that's available, and you want to separate everything with your personal line of credit, your personal finances from your business finances. Because as you know, when you start a business, a lot of times you're spending a lot of capital, and sometimes some people don't have that and they put on credit cards. That's fine, but do not do it on your personal credit card. Do it on a business credit card. You want to keep those two things separated, because what that will do is that can unfortunately that can, screw you over in the future if you decide, hey, I want to, buy a new house, or I want to get a car loan, or any sort of personal loan. If you have so much, if your your utility rate is higher than 30%, that will completely destroy you when it comes to looking for, future endeavors for your personal. So I would say keep your private and your personal away from your business.
Well, we have time for just one more quick question, which I guess would be, if you had another piece of advice to leave our audience, what would it be?
Another piece of advice, as cliche as this may sound, actually do what you love. I think that a lot of people are very much scared of that, and I think that most people are really just like paralyzed by the whole idea of the unknown. For me, I really just took a leap into this whole thing. I was pretty calculated, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. But at the same time, I knew that this was the right thing for me. I knew that this was something that I would enjoy. This is something I would have a lot of fun with, and it was not going to seem like work for me. And that's, I think, what I really value about this business and everything that I do. It doesn't seem like work. It seems like very, very interesting fun that I'm having. I love collaborating with people. I love meeting up with people, understanding what their needs are, and just crossing the finish line with them. It's great to meet somebody who has no idea of like how they would like to tackle something. And then as time goes on, you see them build their confidence. You see them get more and more involved in the project. You see them just really just become happier as things march towards the finish line. And then at the end of the day, you see their faces when the project is complete, and you see how happy they are and just like how grateful they are really for our help. And that's one thing that I would absolutely recommend to everybody. Just do the things that you love, because when you do that, you're never really going to feel like you're working. And I know, like I said, this is cliche. You may have heard this once or twice or a billion times, but you're actually never going to feel like you're working. And that has been the best and the most fulfilling thing for me personally. It doesn't feel like a job where I clock in 9 to 5 and I leave at 5 and I dread going back the next day.
Hmm. Well, from that, I would assume that you would do it again.
I definitely do it again.
Okay. Well, on that note, we have to say, Victor, thank you for a very, to me, illuminating time together. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. This has been great. Yeah, thank you for taking the time to interview me and to find out what Crew Collective is all about.